بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا، إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا، وانفعنا بما علمتنا، وزدنا علما. وأسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يرزقنا حسن النية وحسن الختام. May Allah give us the sincere intentions and the good ending. So since we're running behind schedule, I'm just going to pick right up from where we stopped, which is the last paragraph um, on page 37. So the author, may Allah have mercy upon him, he said, so we're still talking about the conditions for the marriage contract to be valid. If the guardian, the father, is a sinner, some Shafi'i scholars state that his guardianship is valid even if he is not upright. However, some Shafi'i scholars require uprightness. If the father is not upright, the guardianship transfers to the grandfather. So even though the father is alive and present and available, according to this saying, if he is not upright, then he loses the right of guardianship and it transfers to the next in line, which would be the grandfather. If the grandfather is not upright, so if a condition is missing, then it's as if the person does not exist. If the grandfather is not upright, the guardianship transfers to the full brother. So the brother of the woman who has the same father and same mother. Some of them, some of the scholars, say that regarding the father, if he is not upright but a Muslim, his guardianship is valid because most marriage guardians at this time are sinners and enormous sinners. Most of the guardians of this time are enormous sinners. However, the marriage of a dhimmi, that is a kitabiya, a woman who is a Christian or a Jew, this woman does not require the guardian to be a Muslim. So, as we said, the Christian woman, if her father is a Christian, he is allowed to give her away. The Jewish woman, if her father is a Jew, although they are not upright because they are not Muslim, in that case, it is not a condition for the guardian to be a Muslim. The foremost of the guardian, so now the author is talking about the order of guardianship. the foremost of the guardians in marriage is the father, because those beside him derive their authority through him, meaning everyone other than the father, they qualify for guardianship because of their relationship to the father. So the grandfather, what is his connection with the woman? Through the father. The brother, through the father. The uncle, through the father. The nephew, also through the father. Then, and after the father comes the grandfather, meaning the father's father. So always we are referring to agnatic relatives, that is, paternal relatives. Even if he is higher in lineage, even if he is an ascendant. So you have descendants, the offspring, and the children and the children of the children and the children of the children. Those are descendants. Ascendants is the father, then the father of the father, then the father of the father of the father, like this. So after the father comes the grandfathers from the father's side. So the father of the father, which is the grandfather, then the great grandfather from the father's side, the great great grandfather, also continuing, but all paternal relatives. So then comes the grandfather, meaning the father's father, even if he is higher in lineage, because he has guardianship and agnatic kinship. As we said, paternal kinship. So he is prioritized over the mere paternal relative. And in some cases, the grandfather replaces the father. And not just in guardianship as far as marriage is concerned, but in other issues. Then comes the full brother, and then the paternal half brother. So they have the same father, but a different mother. Then the son of the full brother and half brother, even if lower in lineage. So that is the nephew and the son of the nephew and the son of the son of the nephew, like that. Then comes the paternal uncle, that is the full brother of the father, then the paternal half brother of the father, that is, followed by the paternal uncle's son. So that's a nephew, or sorry, that's a cousin, even if lower. So that includes the son of the uncle. So second cousin, third cousin, but all paternal relatives. After that comes the rest of the agnatic kin, with the order in marriage being the same as the order of inheritance, except in two cases. The first is the grandfather is given priority over the brother here, unlike inheritance. The second is the son does not marry off his mother because, or based on his relation to her through lineage, even though he is given priority in inheritance. And this is something we spoke about previously. The son does not share lineage with his mother. Why? Because lineage passes through the father, not through the mother. Yes, they are blood related, for sure. But mere blood relation is not what is considered here, but rather the lineage by way of blood relation. So the son does not have guardianship in marriage because there is no shared lineage between him and the mother. However, if he shares lineage with the mother, such as a son who is the son of her paternal cousin, so he is her son and her second cousin at the same time, then he has guardianship due to the shared lineage, not because he is her son. So the son, this person being the son, does not give him any position in guardianship, but it does not prevent guardianship from another reason. So the son being the son does not give him the right of guardianship, but also it does not prevent him from being a guardian. Meaning he might be a guardian for another reason, or he might not be a guardian at all, but he would marry off his mother for another reason, such as the father is present, but the son is a Muslim scholar, for example. So the father delegates his grandson to give away his daughter on his behalf. So while he is not a guardian in the true sense in this case, he is a wakil. He is acting on behalf of the father. So the son's relation as a son does not prevent him from acting as a guardian for marriage under other circumstances. If the designated guardian cannot facilitate the contract because he is dead, or he lacks, he is not present, or he lacks one of the conditions for guardianship, such as being an enormous sinner. So he's not qualified. And there are no paternal relatives. The woman has none. Or she has, but none of them, in the order that we mentioned, none of them are qualified to give her away. In that case, the judge, that is the Muslim judge, performs the contract. That means the judge performs the contract if there is no one from her guardians or paternal male relatives. She has no uncle, cousin, brother, or nephew. Furthermore, what is meant by judge is an Islamic judge, like Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, who was an Islamic judge and a ruler, combining both the role of ruling people and being a jurist, like Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, and the senior companions. And so this Muslim judge does not have to be a caliph, but the benefit of mentioning various caliphs here, like the righteous caliphs, al-Khulafa al-Rashidun, is because after these uh, male relatives, the next one in line would be the Khalifa. And that is one of his responsibilities, which is to aid those women who do not have guardians in getting married and providing for the orphans and other things. Suppose the Muslim judge cannot facilitate the contract, because there is no Muslim judge. In that case, the arbitrator, whom the two spouses appoint, meaning they make him a judge in the matter of their marriage. This is called muhakkem. Muhakkem. Therefore, he becomes in the position of the original designated guardian, although he is not technically called a guardian. It is a condition for this arbitrator. Many of these things we mentioned before due to questions that came up. So I'm not adding a lot of extra details. It is a condition for this arbitrator to be upright. So he cannot be a sinner or an enormous sinner because he takes the place of the judge. And he cannot be someone whose conduct is contrary to people of his status. So, and that is what we discussed at the end of last week's class when we talked about the person who is a trash man or a collector of garbage. It is a condition for the validity of his conducting the contract that his appointment is from both the man and the woman and not just the woman. So we're not talking about a wakil. The wakil is different. The wakil is the agent, the one who acts on behalf of a particular party. But in the case of the muhakkam, the arbitrator, who is a substitute for the Muslim judge, both the man and the woman will appoint that person. If that person is upright, but they do not know the rules of marriage, then they're not qualified to be appointed. So not only do they need to be upright, they need to know the rules of marriage. If they do not know how to marry off a woman, then they cannot be appointed. So what would they say to this muhakkam, this arbitrator? She says to him, I have appointed you as an arbitrator in my marriage. And the man also says, I have appointed you as an arbitrator in my marriage. And we explain to them what that means. In Arabic, they would say to this person, this man, حكمناك في زواجنا. حكمناك في زواجنا. Which means we appoint you as a substitute for the judge in our marriage. So it does not have to be those exact words, but it has to give the meaning. the proper meaning, that they are being appointed as a substitute for the Muslim judge in their marriage. So the author says, and we explain to them what that means. We have appointed you as an arbitrator in our marriage, means that we have made you a judge in the matter of the marriage. This arbitrator says to this man, so the man meaning the groom, the one who wants to marry the woman, I have married you to my principal, so and so. So the verbal marriage contract would be the same. Does he have to mention that she is his principal? No, this is not a condition. He would say, let's say her name is Fatima, and the man who wants to marry her, his name is Zaid. So the arbitrator says to Zaid, I now give you Fatima in marriage for the dowry, if a dowry was specified, that you two agreed upon. And then Zaid would say to the arbitrator, I accept marrying Fatima for the mentioned dowry or the agreed upon dowry, like this. Is this clear? Does anyone have any questions about this particular issue? Yani about appointing someone as a substitute for the Islamic judge. Just about this particular issue. Yeah, yes.
Okay, so for Imam Shafi'i, that one has to be upright, upright, uh, eligible, and then some also say doesn't have to be upright. Pretty much.
Yeah, as far as the father is concerned. That that is as far as the father is concerned. So if the woman um she had a full brother who was a Muslim, but he was not upright, okay? Then he is not qualified to give her away. He's not qualified to give her away. She has to appoint someone. And if there's no Islamic judge, there's no Khalifa, then she would appoint someone, and the man she wants to marry would appoint him as well to be an arbitrator. So this, the author said, this mentioned solution does not come according to the well-known Shafi'i madhab. Uh, so I'm not going to explain this, but that other book that I gave you, if you read through the whole thing, then you would you would get what that means exactly. However, it is valid according to the old opinion and an opinion stated by a Shafi'i in his book Al-Ahkam or Ahkam al-Quran. So it is permissible to act upon it. Yani it is not the well-known position in the Shafi'i school. However, it is not an opinion which is abandoned. So sometimes there are differences of opinion among the scholars, and both opinions are strong, or one is stronger than the other. So one opinion is strong and one opinion is weak. sometimes the weak opinion, although it's weak, it's not completely disregarded. Sometimes an opinion is weak and it is completely disregarded, meaning you cannot practice it. It's not permissible to practice it. And if someone does practice it, they're committing a sin. Even though a scholar said it, even though a scholar said it. So it depends. But here, this is not such an opinion. Furthermore, it is stipulated, the author said, that the two witnesses must be Muslim, accountable, upright, possess hearing, so they cannot be deaf, sight, cannot be blind, understanding, they cannot be um, mentally handicapped to the extent that they do not understand what is going on. They're not insane, but they don't understand. And of course, the insane person, even more so. And included under understanding is understanding. Maybe they are not mentally challenged, but they don't understand the language in which the contract is being conducted in. So they would not be sufficient witnesses because they don't know what is being said. How do they know these two people just got married? They don't speak their language. He said, and speech, so they cannot be um, mute. Also, if there are someone that cannot retain information, and you say something to them and just give it a minute, they will completely forget. Maybe due to old age, they would not be sufficient witnesses. And free from lowly professions. Now, this issue, I actually spent the whole week going through reviewing what different Shafi'i scholars said about this, and also what is in some um, books in the Hanbali school and the Maliki school and the Hanafi school. So I'm not going to go too far into that issue again, maybe for like another time. Uh, but yani, suffice it to say, there are more details on this issue. And these was considered صنائع دنيئة, lowly professions. They divided them, the scholars, into, yani they are categorized as such for two reasons. One reason is the the profession involves constant direct contact with filth, najis. This is one reason. The other reason is that it is considered a low profession according to the people, even if it does not involve direct contact with filth. Yani direct contact with filth, that is the job itself. So, what would not be included in that is a doctor who would do hijama for his patients. And his profession is not the hajjam, the one who does wet cupping. His profession is being a doctor, but part of his treatment might involve doing hijama. And that profession, the one who does wet cupping, is the basis for all of that. And all of the different professions that are mentioned under this category, the analogy that the scholars made was to that profession because that is what's mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they even speak when they talk about this. There is a chapter or a section when the scholars they talk about food, what you can eat. Um, they also speak about the food which is given to you by someone whose profession is this and that, whether you should eat their food or not. Um, and the like. Because there is a hadith about this issue. Uh, wet wet cupping is there are different ways. It involves making small slits in the skin. It could be in the back. It could be in other parts of the body. And then using something that sucks or draws the bad blood which has accumulated uh, in that area. This is wet cupping. So if you remember Michael Phelps, the swimmer, so he would come to the pool and he has these big red circles on his body. It's from the cupping. There's dry cupping, which just involves suction, and then wet cupping, in which the blood is actually taken out. Yeah, hijama. Hijama. Um, that is, and it does not have the same judgment as the one who draws blood. The what's called the fast. There is a difference. Someone asked a question. Would it be the same situation for, I think you mean a convert, not a revert? If the question was answered in the past. Um, okay, so you need to clarify, would what be the same situation? Would what be the same situation? Yeah, I need clarify the question and then inshallah I'll answer. Um, okay. So the author said the testimony of the blind, the deaf, and the mute is invalid. Yani they're not valid witnesses. Additionally, one who does not retain speech, for example, a person who may not be insane but due to old age, if spoken to, shortly forgets what was said to him, like someone who has dementia. Such a person does not retain speech. And so they would not be a valid witness. Likewise, one who practices a lowly profession, such as collecting garbage, does not sin by his work if he fulfills his obligations and avoids prohibitions. However, the judge does not accept his testimony. If he requests to testify before the judge and practices such a profession, the judge does not accept his testimony. And here, a lowly profession does not mean his profession is sinful. No. Similarly, one who works in sewers, dealing with what comes out of people's waste, cleaning it, is also considered a lowly profession. If is his job, there is no sin upon him, but his testimony regarding the marriage contract and his testimony before the judge is not accepted. So we're talking about as far as the Muslim judge is concerned. To Allah, this person may be better than all of us. Uh, okay, so the question, what would convert do that doesn't have any Muslim family about having a wali? Yes, so what we said regarding the order of guardianship, it applies to a new Muslim and someone from a Muslim family. If they only have Muslim relatives from their mother's side, they have no paternal Muslim relatives who qualify to be a wali, then the guardianship that we would mention, the order applies. There's no khalifa, there's no Muslim judge. The woman and the man she wants to marry would appoint a substitute for the Islamic judge. So whether she is a convert or not, the same order applies. Being a male is a condition for yani a condition for the being a guardian and being witnesses. For a woman does not have the authority to conduct the contract and guardianship. So a woman cannot even be appointed as an arbitrator to give another woman away in marriage. And it is not valid for her to be a witness in the marriage of another. So again, we're not talking about she's not permitted to be there. We're only talking about those who are needed in order for the contract to be valid. In the school of Abu Hanifa, radiyallahu anhu, it is valid, the marriage contract, with one male and two females. But in the Shafi'i school, and other than the Shafi'i school, you need two male witnesses. Also, when we say male, we are excluding who? Who is excluded? We said female is excluded, but also who else is excluded? Uh, yeah, but the children are excluded because the witnesses and the guardian must be pubescent. So by saying male, we exclude females and the hermaphrodite. The hermaphrodite. It's called khuntha, specifically khuntha mushkil, the confused hermaphrodite or ambiguous hermaphrodite. So a hermaphrodite is someone who was born with both male and female genitals. They have both male and female private parts. That's the hermaphrodite. However, merely being a hermaphrodite does not prevent them from being a witness or a guardian. What would prevent them is if their true gender is unknown. If their true gender is unknown, then they cannot. Yani, how would that be? Uh, Yani, these are real cases, even in this country. It's not like just something they dealt with in the old age. So, I met a person like this, in prison, actually. Yani, I was a volunteer. So they were the ones who were the inmate. They were in a male prison. So they seem like there's something off about this person. So they came to me, and they told me their situation. They were born with both male and female private parts. So what happened? Their parents chose one over the other, but they became a Muslim. They were a Muslim. And they did not know what did their parents rely upon to say that they were a male. So they felt that really they are a female. But of course, I mean, before they met me, they came across some people who learned some rules about this, and they knew they could not just go according to what they feel, and they wanted to do what was right. And even eventually, the person got out of prison, and I ran into them in Philadelphia. The prison was not in Philadelphia either, but I ran into them, and I remembered them, and they wore a niqab. They wore a niqab. And that's what they were supposed to do, given their situation. Because the person like this, in some cases, they act according to the judgments that apply to men. And in other cases, they act according to judgments that apply to women. Because it is not clear, are they really a man or a woman? So they have to be dealt with in a certain way. And even as far as the prayer lines, for example, where would they stand in the prayer? They don't stand with the men because they might be a woman. And they don't stand with the women because they might be a man. So where would they stand? Yani, let's say we're all praying in one room. The men would line up. Then you have the non-pubescent boys. And then the khuntha, the hermaphrodite, would stand by themselves in their own line. In their own line. Then come the lines of the woman. In any case, if a marriage contract was conducted and later it was found out that one of the witnesses was a hermaphrodite and it was not known what their true gender is, and there are ways to know, then this contract will not be valid because of the possibility that they are really a woman. Someone asked, who are they allowed to marry? Yani, let them figure out whether they are male or female, and then you know the answer. Yani, they cannot it is obvious, it goes without saying, gay marriage is not permissible in Islam. It is absolutely haram and invalid. And anyone who says that gay marriage is okay Islamically is not a Muslim. That's obvious to all of us. They wouldn't be a Muslim if they say that. So the hermaphrodite, if they turn out to truly be a man, so it's known that they are a man in reality, then they can marry a woman. If it's known that they are a woman, then they can marry a man, regardless of whether the extra private part was removed or not. So, yes. Uh, so a man married someone who wore a niqab. Then, upon consummation, they discover uh, the person is a hermaphrodite. That, if it's truly a woman, if it's truly a woman, so let's say the hermaphrodite is truly a woman, and they know that they're a woman based upon the specific religious criteria, but they still have both private parts. And you said this is the definition of hermaphrodite. And then the man discovers that. Yani it's up to him if he wants to stay married to her or to her or not. If it's a man and they just feel that they are a woman, then the marriage is not valid. Marriage is not valid. Now, there's other issues regarding uh, breaching the marriage because of defects. So let's say the hermaphrodite was on the male side, okay? They look like a man, they act like a man. There's no way of, sometimes there are hormonal imbalances, and you may have a man who acts feminine, but they're not a hermaphrodite. So, just talking about hermaphrodite, there's no indication that this is a potential issue. And then the woman finds out after doing the marriage contract. So you have the same issue. Are they really a man or they just think they are a man? If they are really a man, then what comes next? It depends on how they got married. Yani, meaning, were they given away by the guardian and the defect was not disclosed? Okay, so because it wasn't disclosed, he is not um, suitable for her. So then you have an issue there. Does the person have the male private part, but the private part does not work? So then you have an issue there. Yani That's in the book, but it's later down the line, and when we go through a list in which things that the woman can breach the marriage contract. Yes.
I have a question. I didn't feel I went through a situation like that. Interesting. But is it our right to already to know before we marry? But isn't it our right to know?
There's nothing preventing you from asking. So if you meet a woman and you want to verify that she is actually a woman, yani by asking. You cannot verify by looking at her private parts. We spoke about this already. What can the man see? The face and the hands. So if you ask her, I want to verify that you are actually a woman because yani, these streets are nowadays people do all types of sinful things. So you can ask if she is not honest. So really, this is hermaphrodite, but she lied and said she's a woman. Okay, she lied, or she's a hermaphrodite, and but she is a woman. So you don't discover until after that she still has the male private part, or you discover after the marriage contract that the male private part was removed. Sometimes it's removed as a child. Sometimes it's removed in adulthood. So in this case, for the man, it's easier because the man uh, has the right to divorce.
Yes. I can explain a little. I want to go
Sure.
into
Sure.
mine wasn't on that. It wasn't on that level. It was more so hormonal level of the woman. She had a beard.
Uh-huh.
So like you said, be allowed that we can see the face of the hands. Mashallah. So it was kind of like covered. It was not covered, but like shaved and
Mm-hmm.
it was taken out.
Yeah.
But it was not expressed that that was the situation. It's beard and then like hair too on the chest and all of that.
Uh-huh.
So once I found that out, it took about 6 months, inshallah, to find out. We talked about it, and I felt like I got deceived because that would have been something. I felt like that was something that I know we were supposed to feel. That I felt at that time that was something that she could have had, told me. But I was not aware that those are the type of things that we supposed to ask, during sit down.
Yeah. Okay. So I wouldn't phrase it as you are supposed to ask. There are things to ask and to seek based upon what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged. And there are things that you need to avoid. So you can seek answers to certain questions while at the same time avoiding things that lead to what the religion does not accept. So any talk that leads to arousal of one of the two spouses, even if it's just saying to each other, I love you, they should not. They should avoid it. They should avoid it. If there is no fear of that, and the man wants to verify certain things while maintaining proper Islamic etiquettes, then, and it's not disliked, then he can ask. If it's disliked to ask her, but it's something he wants to know before he marries, then he can check with her relatives, her father or brother. There are some things that the pious people would not go into. They wouldn't ask. They will deal with it if it comes. Does that mean after consummation or before consummating? So once they are able to be alone in private, this is when you will know for sure? Yes. But at that point, if you thought the woman was like this, but then she turned out to be like that, and you can address it before consummating, then do it before consummating. Because if you do it before consummating, yani, what I mean is you separate, you divorce her before consummation, then you don't have to pay the dowry. You don't have to pay the dowry if you divorce her before consummation. If you gave it to her, then she gives it back. She gives it back. One of the benefits of approaching this process in a way in which it is done in many Islamic countries is this issue would be taken care of. So, what we would normally call the engagement period, they're actually married. So, what would happen is the guardian would give the woman away in marriage. So, a marriage contract is done, but the marriage is not consummated, and there is no walima until after 6 months, for example, or in some cases, they might push it to a year. So during that period of time, they're allowed to be alone. She is allowed to uncover herself. They are allowed to have intercourse. They are allowed to consummate because they did a marriage contract. But their habit is not to, is to do it later. Um, and the woman does not move in with him. Because of that, and he may not provide a place until later. If he doesn't provide a place, then that makes it even easier because the woman, if the husband does not provide a place, then there is an issue here regarding her right of refusal to consummate. Yeah, and we'll talk about it later once we get to the nafaqah. Yes.
I was confused just on this, the part where you spoke about the waiting period. So like
Yeah.
Walima and marriage contract, I know they go hand in hand, but what's the difference? Like Walima is about,
That's the wedding party. Yes.
but is the wedding not when we go to the imam? That's not,
Yeah, yes. The contract, that is the wedding. That's not the walima, the aqd. So when the guardian says, I give you my daughter, so and so, and married, that's the wedding. But the walima, the wedding party, in some cases, it's done on the same day, at the same time. In other cases, there is a separation. In some countries, they do this because that getting to know each other, period, in private as husband and wife, they may realize issues like this that you experience. So it gives them the opportunity to confirm compatibility in a halal way. And if they realize that this is not something that will work, they can save their family's face and a lot of money. So there was an aqd which doesn't cost anything. And usually that's just with a small group of people. And if it doesn't work out, they didn't spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on a wedding party like this.
So contract, last time,
Sure.
contract is written or verbal.
Verbal always. It must be verbal. It must be verbal.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, I
Yes.
just wanted to make sure that's what you meant by contract.
Yeah. So it cannot uh if someone had like a form and they just filled it out and then the other party filled it out and then some witnesses filled it out, no one said anything, then this is not valid marriage.
Does the imam have to be a part of things?
No, no, she needs the
Just the witness.
you need a man, a woman, okay, a guardian, two witnesses, and the exchanged statement. So the guardian, so those are Muslim male relatives. So we're speaking about a Muslim woman. Okay, keep it simple. Muslim male relatives from the father's side, not the mother's side. And as we said, the son is excluded. The son of the woman is not a guardian. If there's no guardian from the Muslim male relatives, then the guardianship of the woman goes to the Khalifa. There's no Khalifa, then the guardianship goes to the Islamic judge. There's no Muslim judge. Then in this case, um, both the man and the woman would appoint what's called a muhakkam, an arbitrator, who substitutes for the Islamic judge. Both of them appoint him, not one, both, because this person who is going to give the woman in marriage to the man, he is not a wakil. The wakil is different from the muhakkam. The wakil is an agent who acts on behalf of someone. The man can have a wakil, so he can appoint someone to accept marrying the woman on his behalf. The guardian can also have a wakil. Maybe he traveled, so he appointed the woman's son, and he's qualified to do it, to act on his behalf. So he would then give away, in that case, his mother in marriage to the man, using a statement in any language, as long as it includes the meaning of marriage or wedlock or matrimony. So in Arabic, there's two terms. One is tazweej, the other one is nikah. So a translation of either of those in any language, as long as everyone understands, including the witnesses, the language which is being spoken. So the one who gives the woman away, he says to the man, I now, just as just an example, I now give you so and so in marriage for the marriage payment, the mahr, the dowry that was agreed upon. Then the man would say, I accept the marriage of so and so for the agreed upon dowry, like this. So, but it is key that the term marriage or wedlock, he could say, I now wed so and so to you, and then the man accepts. So marriage, the term marriage must be said from both sides. According to some scholars, the man can just say, I accept. According to others, he must say, I accept the marriage of the woman, or I accept marrying this woman, so and so. The other thing is, and this is important because sometimes two people who know each other, they might just go to a masjid and say, "Me and the sister, we want to get married," um, but no one knows her. Uh, Either she needs to state her name, so she is so and so, the daughter of so and so, for example, or she needs to show her face. So if she wears a niqab, she has to uncover her face for the marriage contract, so people know who it is. So if she doesn't want to uncover her face, that's fine, but she needs to state her name so people know. They would know her by name. If she doesn't want to give her name, then she needs to uncover her face. But she can't withhold her name and cover her face because then no one knows who is this woman.
It's, you know, excuse me, Sheikh. I'm hopefully, inshallah, I'm about to get married. So I want to make sure that I completely understand. I understand everything that you said. When it comes down to a woman that, a Muslim that does not have a father that is Muslim, is it still respectable to like go to him, or should we just leave that off?
Um, if the woman is Muslim but the father is not, the, although he is not a guardian, he cannot give her away in marriage. There is no harm in getting to know the family, um, and being nice to him. There's no harm in that. Maybe they have a close relationship, and this will help him, draw him to Islam. Yeah, so Walaikum assalam. Yeah, there's no harm in that, but it's not a requirement. Um, okay, let me just ask a few questions and then we'll stop. Someone said, "Do you know if a son can give his mother away according to another school?" I don't know. Yani, so, yani, I don't know. Everything that we mention, unless stated otherwise, is from the Shafi'i school. Like, are there any other? Yes.
So if you're the only Muslim in your family and your cousin converted from your mom's side, can they be a
Uh,
witness?
they can be a witness, but just not the guardian. Now, um, if you remember, we said according to the school of Abu Hanifa, the woman is under certain conditions, she is allowed to give herself away in marriage. Since she has that authority in the Hanafi school, she has the authority to appoint a wakil. So she can appoint her cousin as a wakil. And the wakil only needs to come from one side.
Even if he's a new shahada.
Yes, as long as the other conditions are fulfilled. Afwan. So that's something you should underline. Yani not you specifically, but in general. As long as the other conditions are fulfilled. The norms are kind of left in limbo to a certain extent. You don't have people taking care of new Muslims like was done in the past. Because of that, it takes new Muslims to learn their obligations a lot longer than they need, meaning there's some negligence there. So if they have not learned and they had sufficient time to learn their obligations, then they would be sinful. So in that case, they would not be qualified to be a witness, and you would not appoint them as a wakil. Okay, someone said if the mother was Muslim and the father or the male from which his sperm made that child, then he wouldn't be the father unless he apostates after marriage. Uh, I don't understand that question. It says if the female has no paternal or maternal Muslim male relatives. So maternal Muslim relatives are not in line for guardianship. So they're completely excluded. Yani, from that aspect. And her mother marries, does her husband act as the wakil in a marriage? No. So the stepfather is not a guardian. The stepfather is not a guardian because he is not related to the woman uh, by blood through the father. Can he act as a wakil? If he is qualified, then, and according to the Hanafi school, she can appoint him as a wakil. If the woman doesn't follow the Hanafi school, for example, then the stepfather, if he qualifies, would be appointed as an arbitrator that acts in place of a Muslim judge. But remember, the woman and the man she wants to marry have to appoint the arbitrator. Is it if he was not a Muslim from the beginning? Still, I'm sorry, I don't understand this question. Um, so are you asking about a biological father only? So someone who is a biological father, not through a valid marriage? He said he went to, if you have the time, could you probably include in the PDF some questions one should avoid when getting to know someone, things that are disliked? Inshallah, and the Father and Son. Who's Mother was Muslim. All right, so the mother is a Muslim and the father is not. Oh, okay. If the father is not a Muslim, he cannot be a guardian. Maybe the mother embraced Islam. He is her father. Two non-Muslims had a child. The mother became a Muslim. The child became a Muslim, but not the father. He is her father, but he's not a Muslim, so he cannot be a guardian for a Muslim woman. Or he was a Muslim and then he became an apostate. So he's not a Muslim. He cannot be a guardian. That's it. طيب. Let's stop here. No more questions, please. سبحان الله وبحمده وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأستغفر الله وأتوب إليه. بارك الله فيكم إن شاء الله. We'll continue next week. وبالله التوفيق.